Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everyone. We're glad to have you joining us today for our webinar on financial coaching for newcomers, promising practices. We're about ready to begin, so I hope you are comfortable where you are joining us from, and that you have maybe a hot beverage on this chilly day and some coworkers to listen in with. We're very happy to have you with us. We'd like to go over some quick logistics before we get started. As audience members, you have been put on mute for the webinar, but that doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you. Please, if you have a question at any time, we'd love for you to type that into the question box, which is at the control panel at the right side of your screen. And in that control panel, you'll also find our handouts section. We have 2 handouts to share with you to support our presentation today. You can download those at any time. You can review them as we mention them, or you can save them for later and have a look at them in your own time. And finally, we will make sure to send you all the materials from today later on in an email. We will have slides and a recording of the webinar in video form, so we will make sure you get all of that in the next few days. We would like to begin by acknowledging that we are joining you from Toronto, which is situated on traditional territories. The territories include the Wendat Anishinaabeg Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nations, and the Métis Nation. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and the Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. Today, Toronto is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work in this community and on this territory. We acknowledge and thank everyone on the line joining us from traditional territories across Turtle Island, and we are honored to be having this discussion with you, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us. My name is Glenna Harris, and I am the Manager of Learning and Training here at Prosper Canada. Prosper Canada works with all partners in all sectors to ensure that Canadians, regardless of income, have access to programs, products, and services and advice that they need to build their financial well-being. We envision a future in which all Canadians and newcomers have access to free, high-quality, and unbiased financial information, as well as counseling and education whenever they need it. Prosper Canada's programming in financial literacy is part of the work of the Canadian Centre for Financial Literacy, which is co-founded and supported by TD Bank Group. So we have a presentation, great presentation ready for you today for the next hour. After our brief introduction, we'll tell you a little bit about the Financial Empowerment for Newcomers project, which is part of what the work is all involved here today that our speakers will be talking to you about. Our speakers from Newfoundland and Ontario will tell you about their financial coaching programs that were delivered as part of this project. So Sherry Abbott and Noemi Garcia will be talking to us each about their experiences. And then finally, we will have a few minutes at the end for Q&A. So we hope that you'll gather your questions and let us know if there's something you would like to know more about from each of our presenters. So first of all, Sherry Abbott, she is the Employment Development Manager and Career Practitioner with Access Career and Employment Services in St. John's. This is part of the Access Career Services division of the Association for New Canadians. Her responsibilities include delivering a wide range of programs and services, such as facilitating pre-employment skills, development workshops for internationally trained workers, refugees, and immigrant youth. And she has an academic background in the social sciences with over 10 years experience in her current field. So welcome, Sherry.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We're glad to have you, Sherry. And Noemi Garcia, she is the manager of the settlement program at North York Community House in Toronto, where she's worked for 18 years. She has significant experience in the employment and settlement sectors. After coming to Canada for her education from El Salvador originally, she stayed and continued to work in employment and entrepreneurship, and continues to lend her expertise and experience to support both employment development and newcomer settlement in her community. So welcome, Noemi. We're very glad to have you.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So that tells us a little bit about our presenters, but before we get started, we'd love to know a little bit more about you who are listening in with us. We have a poll for you here. We'd love to know if you are currently offering newcomer support in your agency or organization. Please check any of the following options that apply to you. So for example, do you serve a broad population of which newcomers are one part? Do you support refugees specifically? Do you support international students specifically? Do you offer general support to all new immigrants to Canada? Or perhaps you don't support newcomers yet, but that's something that you would like to see in your organization in the future. So please go ahead and check whichever options apply to your organization, and I'll close the poll in 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So it looks like the majority of you do offer support to newcomers as part of the broad population that you serve, which is amazing. And about a fifth of you support international students, and about a third of you offer support to refugees. So that's really great to know. And it sounds like some of you on the line are keen to develop more newcomer support in the future, about 9% of you listening in. So thank you very much for sharing that with us. We have one more question, which is we'd love to know how many of you are currently offering financial coaching in your organization. Are you offering it now? You're not offering it now, but you would like to in the future, or it just isn't currently something that you offer as part of your services? So I'll leave this open for another 15 seconds. All right, I'll close this in 3, 2, and 1. So it looks like about 70% of you are currently offering financial coaching, which is wonderful. We hope you'll send us some questions or other notes of interest as we go through the presentation. We'd love to hear how our speakers' experiences resonate with your own. Thank you for sharing those comments with us. We have about 100 of you on the line right now, which is just wonderful, especially given the busy time of year. So thank you all for joining us. So we wanted to give you a bit of an introduction to the project that Noemi and Sherry have both been a part of, which is still ongoing until spring of next year. The Financial Empowerment for Newcomers project has been funded by Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, or IRCC, and it's been a partnership with Prosper Canada and 3 agencies across the country, 2 of which you'll be hearing from today. The overall goal of this project has been to provide newcomers with financial information and financial supports that they can use to start building a secure financial life in Canada. And this has been rolled out in several different ways throughout the project. One has been financial literacy education. Another aspect has been financial coaching, which is what we'll get into today. And then we also have been developing an online money management tool oriented towards newcomers to help orient them to the basics of not just money management, but the banking and taxation systems in Canada, which can be different. So if you'd like to learn more details about this project in general, one of our handouts in the panel there for you is a larger file, but it's got great details and graphics in it, which is about the whole project as it's unfolded over the last couple of years. Since we can't get all of it in detail right now, if you'd like to have a look at that later, we welcome you to do so. We did want to highlight one piece of our research that came through from the beginning of the project, which is that we wanted to understand what types of money challenges newcomers to Canada often face when they are in their first couple of years of settling here. And we discovered that these challenges are quite varied and quite numerous, which is perhaps not a surprise to those working in the sector. Money management and saving are definitely at the top, but folks are also concerned about, paying for basic needs. They're concerned about their lack of credit history, their lack of employment history in Canada. And on top of these challenges, newcomers can also face a lack of knowledge around the taxation and benefit system, navigating a new banking system, and also not being sure where to find that trustworthy advice in their new community, since there are so many different options. And as many of us know, it can be hard to tell off the top which ones are the safe options. So this project really engaged our partner agencies to deliver financial support on a couple of different fronts to do that kind of financial help in ways that would meet newcomers' needs as best we can. And financial coaching is definitely a success story for this project, as I'm sure Noemi and Sherry will agree. But I'm not going to tell you too much about that because I'm going to turn it right over to them. So first we're going to hear from Sherry Abbott from Access in St. John's, and she'll tell us about her experiences delivering coaching to newcomers in her community. So Sherry, please take it away.
Thank you, Glenna. You can move to the next slide, please. I just want to start today by giving you a little bit of background about our organization. We are celebrating 40 years in the community this year, which is a big milestone for us. Our center includes 3 different services, really. We've got settlement and integration services, our language assessment and instruction center, and our career and employment services division, which is us, Access Career Services. Right now, we've got about 100 staff working with us, and we've got satellite offices throughout the province. We really are the only funded settlement serving agency in all of Newfoundland and Labrador, so we are servicing the entire province, which is quite busy at times, but also very nice. Next slide, please. So in terms of Access, Access Career Services started about 25 years ago, and we've developed a wide range of programs and services over the years, including pre-employment skills development training, an online skills matching database that you see there in the center, accesscareers.net. We've got targeted bridge to work opportunities, internships, and placement programs, specifically for professionals, as well as our international students and graduates. And we've got a variety of online employment training programs, as well as advanced communications training programs. We work with about 750 clients per year, and because we've got very diverse funding, we're open to all categories of newcomers to Canada. So that includes temporary residents, refugees, our economic immigrants, as well as international students and their families as well. And right now on our staff, we have about 15 people working with us, and we're growing every day. We've seen some significant growth over the past few years. Next. So moving into the area of financial coaching and implementing this project, we've been a partner with Prosper Canada for a number of years, since about 2012, and we started in the first project that they had with IRCC in terms of delivering group training for financial literacy. And we started that program and built it into our employment services programs. So it's now embedded as a module, I guess, within our employment training programs. So for this program, we wanted to choose coaches who were delivering specific employment programs, but also entrepreneurial programs in the area of business startup and business growth. So we engaged 4 different coaches, some who work with lower level English, some who work in business, and some who work with our more internationally trained professionals. We completed financial literacy facilitator training online in the spring and summer of 2018. And that was really great for our staff to get the bigger picture of that group training. We had a lot of new staff at the time, and it was very important for them to have that foundation before we moved into the coaching. And then in November of 2018, we completed the coaching training when Janet and Jenny came on site and helped us in that regard. We started to promote the program to participants who were already completing our employment training programs. They were already here with us in the building. It was natural that we would offer this coaching program to them first. We started to promote through our Link School and then through individual meetings in-house as well as in the community. So we were promoting to our partners as well as we went to speak to employers, or we went to community engagement, networking events, those types of things. We began to identify our coaching clients from a variety of sources, including our intake assessments, our group training, our online training programs, even our one-on-one counseling sessions, and of course, those who self-identified that they would be interested. So basically, we left a very wide open door for anyone who was interested in learning more about their own financial well-being. Next slide, please. In terms of actually starting the delivery, it was really important for us to look and listen for the coaching moments, we were calling them, or those aha moments, when our clients recognized that they actually wanted or needed help with their own finances. And that became very apparent to us because the more we actively listened, the more we learned and the more we sought out those particular needs that maybe we weren't paying such close attention to prior to the project. We started to schedule separate meetings to work through the coaching model because we all provide frontline career development services, and we wanted to make sure that there was no boundaries or crossovers there. So we were scheduling separate meetings just to talk about financial coaching. We were also very careful to refer clients to other coaches internally. We wanted to make sure that we minimized any confusion around roles and services or overlap. We wanted to be very clear that when people were coming for financial coaching, that's what they were getting. And we weren't taking that time to talk about employment or other things. This was a very dedicated slot within their calendar. And we wanted to ensure that clients were able to differentiate between those services. And that was key for us in making sure that we didn't overlap at any point. Next slide, please. So who were our participants? We were piloting the coaching between November 2018 and January 2019. In total, we had 40 participants, and we had 3 coaches, including myself and 2 other folks who were working with these 40 people. So in terms of gender, I mean, we were pretty diverse in our group. We had 35% of our clients were female, 55% of our participants were refugees, 37% of our clients were under the age of 30, which was quite significant for us because we do have a lot of younger clients coming into our center. And 77% of them were living in Canada under 3 years. So that was a prime time really to connect with that group and really start to work through the financial management pieces with them. What were their key topics of interest? Next slide. The biggest and the most important that we worked with really was around credit reporting, credit history, credit cards, what that meant to them, how those bills were generated at the end of the month, paying back the interest, income tax and the whole taxation system, debt management, mortgages. Of course, like I said, we had a lot of younger people. They were looking to buy homes. They were, a lot of them professionals moving into a job. They wanted to settle down. And then we had a lot of others who were in that training credentialing stage and looking at student loans and looking at post-secondary education. So their interests were around those sorts of topics and building that pathway that they might move into their profession and into their field of experience. Next. And in terms of progress and successes for our clients, we saw a lot of increased ability to manage that credit card debt. I still have people saying to me today that they're canceling unused credit cards, they're developing plans, they're trying to pay off that credit card debt as quickly as possible, which is phenomenal to hear because we know the situation with Canadians and our own financial management when it comes to credit cards. So with newcomers, it's great to hear that interest, that they don't want to accumulate as much debt. Definitely more awareness and understanding of income taxes and budgeting. And one gentleman talked to me about going home and building a budget for the first time with his wife. And she just got her full-time job. So now they were starting to work on their family budget and put things together in order to save to buy a house. A greater sense of independence and acceptance of responsibility in the family finance. And this is particularly true for our female participants, seeing them really take on that freedom and involving themselves into what was happening in their home. Increased confidence and momentum in financial decision making. We saw a lot of opportunities here where people were not rushing any longer. They weren't rushing into unnecessary purchases. They were being more careful about their planning. Enhanced understanding of achievable career pathways, and this was true for our folks who were planning for licensure, for credentialing processes, educational programs, really just making sure that their pathway was achievable. They knew they needed money to write exams, they knew they needed to go through the process, but planning for that in a careful way so that it could be done in a timely and effective manner. And the biggest thing I think we saw was a decrease in stress and that emotional burden that comes with their financial management. And people were smiling more, they were being more open and talking about what was going on in their financial lives. Next slide, please. For us as a partner in the project, it was a very natural progression for us. The timing was right. As I said, we've been a partner with Prosper Canada since about 2012. So transitioning to the one-on-one coaching was a natural expression or extension of these services. And the coaching really sort of became a missing link or filled that missing link in our service delivery model. It helped us to implement a wraparound service delivery model, and it's led to better outcomes for our clients. Obtaining the commitment and buy-in from clients was relatively easy for us. We know our clients very well. We're a smaller center. We've got a strong, trusting relationship with them. And as we were already starting to capture some data around their income sources and discussing finances with them from an employment perspective, those coaching conversations felt natural and comfortable. Financial coaching has become valuable for us in terms of an Atlantic Immigrant Career Loan Fund process that we have. We launched this program back in the spring, and as individuals are preparing their applications, we're using the coaching model with them to help them understand their own finances and develop realistic, achievable action plans. Next slide, please. We can't talk about the successes without looking at some of the challenges and the opportunities, of course. For us, staffing and resources to support continuous delivery. We are, of course, a smaller center. We have many, many programs happening. And while it was somewhat challenging to add coaching onto our everyday workload, it was also an incredible opportunity to provide these supports. And our clients truly appreciated the effort. They welcomed the opportunity to talk to us about other things that were going on in their lives, particularly when it came to their finances and their families and their responsibilities. Timelines, the initial timeline for the pilot project seemed daunting at the beginning. Recognizing that we did not have additional staff to provide coaching supports, we were concerned that we wouldn't meet our targets. However, we rolled up our sleeves and we made the time because the positive impact of financial coaching on our clients far outweighed the additional workload. And our coaches were equally committed to meeting those goals with us. So it was really something that we took on as a team effort, and it paid off. Monitoring long-term progress is something that we're working on very slowly. We're keenly interested in the long-term impact of financial coaching on our clients. We hope to build in a more strategic follow-up process as we go forward. And then in terms of training and professional development, we found that the facilitator training and the coaching training was invaluable for our team. It really laid the foundation in terms of our capacity to begin coaching clients. And we're hoping that the training will be available going forward for new staff who will be joining us. We also hope that refresher training or more in-depth training might be an option, something that will keep the momentum going with our team as well. Balancing outcomes-based projects with an ongoing coaching mindset. This is something that was a little bit of a challenge for us in the beginning. For those of us who work in the settlement agencies, we understand because of our funding requirements, our targets, we're almost conditioned to work towards that goal-driven outcome all the time. But adapting to that coaching mindset and allowing the clients to move towards their own goals at their own pace, it was something that took some getting used to. And switching from employment appointments to a coaching appointment in the same day, it was a little taxing at times. But as we got used to it, as we became more comfortable, as the clients began to understand what we were doing, it all started to work itself out, and it became a very positive situation for us. We truly value our partnership with Prosper Canada. Their support throughout both our projects with them has been fantastic. We've always used and will continue to use the financial literacy curriculum and training resources. Our clients have really enjoyed these programs, and we feel that the training and the coaching in particular has positively impacted their future here in Canada. The coaching model is very flexible, it's adaptable, very easy to use with a wide range of backgrounds and ESL learners. So if you're not already delivering coaching, I would seriously encourage you to consider moving into this area in the future. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sherry. That was really wonderful the way you described everything happening in your office, and it sounds you really paint a picture of your staff being so supportive of the coaching, despite what sounds like a very, thriving workload for your staff in different parts of your office. I was wondering before we move on to the next piece of the presentation, if you wanted to say anything more about how you fostered that flexibility amongst your staff and the delivery, like recognizing that roles can shift within a day or a couple times in a day. What were some steps that you took to help foster that flexibility amongst your staff?
I think really it came down to just speaking one-on-one with our staff and really ensuring that they were interested in the financial coaching as much as we were as a leadership team in partnering with the project. Just really letting them know that it's okay to take the time and move into that coaching and really be comfortable with the clients and build those relationships, and just it's okay to take off that hat that we sometimes wear with all of our goals and our to-do lists, and just really be there for the client and work with them through it. And it was phenomenal to see the clients leaving with a smile on their face because we could tell they felt supported, and that's where it all came from. So it was just, I guess, letting it be open and keeping it open.
That's great. That's a wonderful message to reinforce as well. That dialogue and that openness will really go a long way for your staff and your clients as well. Sherry, I hope you don't mind me jumping in with one more question. We had one question in just now, asking more about how you measured your progress for your clients. Did you have any particular method that you used in terms of marking down, the goals that they accomplished, or how they made progress with their coaching?
Really what we did, we built it into our case management system. So that as we were doing the follow-up, as they were coming back in for different appointments, we'd always do a little check-in, say, so how are things going? We talked about that. And we just really recorded that in the files that we already had in place for them. And of course, we recorded the data that we needed to with this project, but really it's that ongoing file and that case management file that we keep all the time. We just made those notes in there, and we just kept encouraging them to keep working towards their goals.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Sherry. Well, we'll come back to you at the end. I'm sure we'll have more questions. But thank you so much for your presentation. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
And now I'm happy to turn it over to Noemi Garcia from North York Community House. She is likewise going to tell us more about how her organization integrated financial coaching into their newcomer support and settlement support, as well as the model that they use to deliver these programs across multiple locations within their organization. So very happy to turn it over to Noemi.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this webinar. I will speak briefly about who we are and who we serve and about the programs that we deliver. And then I will talk about the process of integrating financial coaching into our existing settlement services. Next slide, please. This is the list of the diverse programs that we offer at NYCH. We are a multi-service agency that for over 19 years has been offering a wide range of programs to respond to the needs of newcomer families. With a team of over 100 staff members, we are able to serve over 20,000 individuals per year and delivering services over 90 locations in the Northwest Toronto area. We work with newcomers, refugees, and low-income communities, and we utilize a community development framework to support our clients and residents to become active leaders in their communities and in their neighborhoods. We deliver programs for children, youth, parents, seniors, men and women. And I'd like to invite you to visit our website to learn more about our ongoing programs and events. Next slide, please. Next slide. For many years, our settlement workers have been offering financial literacy-related services for newcomer families. In 2016, NYCH took this work to the next level and engaged in the process of integrating financial coaching into our existing settlement services. To achieve this, we selected 12 workers to be trained as financial literacy facilitators and financial coaches. This is how we created the model. So as I said, we selected from a team of over 30 settlement workers, we selected 12 to be trained and to start this work in partnership with Prosper Canada. From the 12 settlement workers that were trained on financial literacy as facilitators, 5 of them were selected to increase their capacity as coaches and to increase their knowledge and practice how to embed coaching skills in the daily work that they do with their clients. We also identified that was very important to us to have a dedicated staff, a lead coach to mentor and lead the project, to mentor the staff that were in training and to lead the project. So we were going to be able to closely support the staff that was increasing their skills, but also we were able to make sure that we were reaching the targets as the timelines of the project. The next slide shows the model that we use in integrating financial literacy in our existing programs. The lead staff provides mentoring and support to our trained settlement workers in financial coaching. The trained settlement workers meet on quarterly basis to share knowledge, to check in on how we are doing, and to plan future programming for emerging newcomer groups. All programs at North York Community House are aligned to our community development framework and to niche strategic plan. Each settlement worker trained in financial coaching is part of the geographical team. You can see in the image the different groups, and those groups are different neighborhoods in our catchment area. We call this team geo teams. These teams are responsible for identifying, developing, and maintaining working relationships with other local providers, service providers, and community groups. And they also identify gaps, needs in programming and services, and also they keep their eyes open in terms of any emerging trends in each neighborhood. The geo teams model allows us to make financial literacy and financial coaching services accessible in diverse communities in all those geographical areas. Next slide, please. The key topics that we covered when we are engaged in this project were several, but these are the key ones. Over the past 2 years, we were talking about credit cards, understanding credit score, how to build your credit, debt management, saving plans, understanding the Canadian tax system, and tax filing, to name a few. It has been critical to raise awareness about frauds and scams. There are many reports from our clients who have already been victims of scam. So that's why it's very important for us to go to all our newcomer programs to raise awareness about that, because as newcomers, people new in Canada, there are many situations that they are exposed to, ending up in being victims of scams. In terms of the financial coaching piece, we have been focusing more in more depth approach to help people to reflect on their behavior as consumers and how they manage their incomes and expenses and how to set smart goals. Next slide, I'll talk about the success and achievements. In terms of success and achievements, in 2018, our small team of coaches helped 463 newcomer families to access benefits over $600,000. And in 2019, only in a period of 3 months, during the high tax season, we helped clients to access over $700,000 in benefits. Tax filing activities have helped us to reach out to more newcomers and low-income people during a very short period of time. There have been many or more achievements, but the ones listed here were identified as the key ones during the past 2 years. One is the increased interest and confidence of the staff in applying coaching techniques with clients, and as a result of the client-worker relationship that they have built from previous sessions, we have seen an increased number of clients making appointments to discuss their personal finances. Also, more organizations and groups are requesting workshops on financial literacy services for their groups. And this has helped us to increase our presence in the sector in terms of how we are championing financial literacy, working with newcomer communities. Next slide talks about challenges and opportunities. In terms of challenges, our lead coach received referrals from our trained settlement workers who found themselves unable to deal with complex cases. Cases that require more knowledge on specific issues or that require more time to research and find out possible options for clients. In the question period, Jyoti, who is our lead coach, can share some more examples of the complex cases, but I can just mention here that a couple of examples like having a client having multiple credit card loans and not being able to make payments, or a case where a person with small contracts did not pay taxes for a few years and needed to organize a payment plan with CRA. Another challenge faced by coaches is when clients miss their follow-up appointments or do not reply to messages. In most cases, it is because we think it's part of the behavior. When you are not, you haven't done your task, your assignment, you try to avoid, the person who is reminding you about, there is a work plan and we need to do our part. Once we are able to reach our clients, we try to find ways to find out what is the challenge, what is preventing them from achieving that goal. And accordingly, we provide the support that they need so they can go back and revise the work plan and continue working towards reaching their goal. Another challenge include language barriers, distance, transportation, and time in terms of accessing services. In terms of opportunities, it is we have a great resource um, for the fact that we have settlement workers that speak different languages, that we are located in different geographical areas, and also that we have the ability to be mobile. This way, we are able to be accessible to newcomers who are seeking financial literacy services. We also have increased our outreach activities and have received a lot of referrals from clients and other partner agencies as a result of our social media and word of mouth. So clients who are satisfied about our services keep referring their relatives or friends. The fact also that some of our settlement workers opted for additional training and they did the tax filing training with CRA enable us to reach out to more newcomer families. And from here, we have an opportunity to engage with them in a client-worker relationship to support them in setting plans and support them in achieve them. We know that a small accomplishment increase the individual's motivation, so we are able to continue setting other goals. Now, just to close my brief presentation, I'm sure that people will have a lot of questions in the question answer period. I just briefly want to share a success story. And it was about a senior who had a loan from those cash loan businesses. I don't remember the specific if it was $800 or $500, but the situation that is that she has been paying for over 2 years that loan, and she wasn't aware that she was only paying the interest. So she came to see the financial coach and said, I think that I believe that I already pay and they're still sending me all these statements. So when she was, our coach explained to her how this loan system works, the seniors was really emotional, and we have to provide support to her. I think that that's something that we have to mention as well is that our financial coaches, or in our case, our settlement workers trained in coaching skills, they as well need that additional ability to be able to provide support in situations where our clients become emotional, and to be able to let them to disclose their frustration and be able to calm them down and be able to clarify questions. As a coach, it's important to clarify questions because the more that you know about the case, the more the best support that you can provide and the best options for the client to make a decision. In this case, our settlement worker, after asking clarifying questions, she found out that there was a support system. She said, what support system do you have? Who do you have here? Who lives with you? You have relatives here in Canada. And we found out that she had a son. And so they said, uh, there was a plan developed where our settlement worker connected with her son and explained the situation. And the son had the ability to pay the loan, but the mother decided that uh, she was grateful that her son paid for that loan, but she wanted to pay him back in small amounts. As I said, the son was not happy with that, but he understand that her mother was stubborn as well, and so he accepted that. And the mother was really happy that she was able to not pay more interest, but she just was paying, the just the loan that she had from her son. So this is a very simple, basic, success story. We have other that are more complicated, but I just wanted to share that to end my participation. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Noemi. That really painted a picture of the breadth and depth of service that you offer for your newcomer clients. And we have had a couple questions come in. So Noemi and Sherry, I hope you don't mind speaking with us a little bit more. We had a question about how do you handle interpretation for your clients, and maybe you could say a little bit more about how you support clients with multiple language needs. Noemi, you talked about having outreach staff who work with different languages, but I wonder if Noemi and then Sherry, if you want to say a little bit more about if you do offer support through interpretation, or how you might handle working with a client who has a language need that you aren't able to support.
Yes, our team speaks over 30 languages, so we try to, the small team that was trained, we try to choose staff that speak the languages that are in more high demand.
Oh, okay, great. Sherry, did you want to offer any thoughts on that as well?
The translation if needed. In some cases, is that because the settlement, we have settlement workers who have not gone through the training, but they have a client that have a situation that struggling with some financial related issues. They connect with one of our trained settlement workers, and if the language is a barrier, she goes to meet with the settlement worker working with the client because they already have a relationship. So the trained the coach come and provide the support and work together with the settlement worker to be able to assist the client.
Great, thank you, Noemi. Sherry, did you have thoughts on that as well?
Similarly, I would say that we would try to reach out to a staff member if that was the case, but we also had access to our interpreters and our translators that work with us on a regular basis with our settlement team. So we had already talked about that. We didn't need to do this, but we had that in place just in case we needed to. So they were available to us just as they are for all of our employment services. If we need to bring in that service, we will. But we try to just work with what we have in front of us, and sometimes we might even tap into a family member or a staff member that might be able to help in that way as well.
Great. We have another question. Perhaps Sherry, I'll ask you first, and then Noemi, if you want to go next. And I think some of you alluded to I think you both alluded to the time involved and the long-term results of coaching versus the short-term. But how do you handle a situation where a client's received a lot of financial coaching from you, but it doesn't seem like they're making any changes to their situation or to their negative behaviors that might be causing the problems. How would you handle a client situation like that?
Oh dear.
I know it's a big
I think really it does come back again to that relationship, and just keep on trucking on. You know, sometimes it may take a long time to see minimal changes. Sometimes they happen very quickly. But, you know, if we stay the course, if we stay focused on that action plan, we try to do that as much as possible. And hopefully at the end of the day, something sticks. And if it doesn't, that's okay. You know, when they're ready, when they're able to move forward and want to continue on, we'll just pick right up where we left off and keep that moving. But, you know, for the most part, that hasn't really been an issue for us, and maybe because of the short timeline of the project. But maybe going forward in the future, that is something we'll have to look at a little more deeply. But for the most part, I would say just keep on moving and try to keep motivating, try to keep encouraging and empowering the clients to really take that ownership.
Yeah. Great. Noemi, did you have thoughts as well on that one?
Yeah, when we had our initial coaching session with the clients, our workers make sure that they inform the client that we are going to follow up. That's part of the process in terms of the coaching, you know, to find out how they are progressing in their work plan. And also that we also mentioned that there will be times that maybe you haven't done, you know, what you are supposed to do within that time frame. Just let us know that, you know, that you are delaying that because life happened. And people, you know, have a plan and something else happened. But also there are situations where we know that, as I mentioned before, that that's the behavior that you try to avoid the person because you haven't done and, you know, what you are supposed to do. And that's what we do. We try to send email, text messages, you know, and then leave the like if they after 2 times of our following up, you know, and if they don't get back to us, we let it until they are ready. There are other situations where we identify that the person is not ready yet to deal with those issues. They have other situations that are preventing them from moving into, you know, managing and about dealing with monies. And then when we and that's why the clarifying question is important, because in many situations we have identified other issues that we had to refer people to other specialists within the agency. Sometimes it's with our mental health and wellness worker, social worker, you know, sometimes with another settlement worker because it's dealing with, you know, subsidies for childcare or housing, etc. So there are many other issues that are interconnected, and that's why it's so important to keep asking questions and to, you know, find out other issues that are preventing them from moving on.
Great. I really like the way you talked about that, Noemi. There's for all of us, there's so much going on that people might not see, and especially for someone in a situation where they're new and there's money stress, there can be a lot going on, right? So. Yeah, we had a question, Noemi, you mentioned about some complex cases, and we did have a question asking about what type of cases would you consider too complex or kind of on the more complex side of what you could do in a financial coaching session. Noemi, would you like to take that one first and then Sherry?
Sure. I was hoping to have Jyoti to answer this question.
You've got Jyoti.
She doesn't have a mic, so that's why. So I'm looking at her and she's, you know. But I think that one is when people have so many debts, and their struggle moving monies from in different baskets, you know, and they don't know how to pay, and they need to consolidate. You know? So those are more like it will take more time and all that. So those are more considered more complex cases for our frontline settlement workers, that
Yeah.
have been trained coaching. So they refer those cases to our lead coach, and she's the one that connect with that network, the support network that we have, and do the referral and explain, you know, all the process, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Other situation is as, when people have not paid their taxes for years and they are struggling that they cannot access any benefit because they are not doing their taxes, you know. So that is one of the
Yeah.
another example. Yeah.
Okay, great. Sherry, would you agree? Similar like debt and back taxes, would those be on your list?
Absolutely. When you get into those really complex situations where you almost really don't know the answer yourself, that's where that
Yeah.
referral piece comes in, and just connecting them to the right resources and the right people who can help move that along.
Oh, great, great. Perhaps I think we've got time for at least one more question.
Mhm.
And some of you, I think you both alluded to this talking about your financial literacy training, but what type of expertise would you say you would want to have in place to be able to support financial coaching within your agency or organization? Would you say financial literacy training is on the list? Are there other sort of skills or types of expertise that you would want to make sure are in place? How about Sherry first and then Noemi?
I'm not sure there's anything specific I could identify right now. I guess really, like, in addition to the financial literacy training and the financial coaching training, we want, of course, people who are already working in some level on a client service basis, whether they're practitioners or counselors or somebody who really understands that process of working one-on-one with people and keeping that confidentiality and being open and being available, those types of things. But the financial literacy training and the coaching definitely gives us the basics. And then I think really we should be looking at ways to tap into other more in-depth training as we go along. But specifically right now, I don't have anything on the top of my mind.
Oh, I think that those are great items that you just listed, though. I think that's great. Noemi?
I will add to what Cherry said is that we got the training from you guys from
Yeah.
Prof Canada, but now it's like it's as any training we have to make sure that our trained staff practice that they are applying the knowledge, and so to do that we are bringing our trained staff in to do more like share knowledge and to practice on some case studies, and
Yeah.
I want to make sure that for the sustainability of the program, the integration, I think it's important to do something in-house.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good. Yeah, that's great. Practice is always helpful up front, especially when it's different types of cases and different types of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so I said one more, but this is just the one more. I lied before. This is the one more. I think this is a good question to end on. We have a question about when you're doing financial coaching with newcomers, if you have any tips on outreach for finding the clients in different newcomer communities, or to find the newcomers in your community who may benefit from coaching. Do either of you have any tips to share on that front? Perhaps Noemi.
One key one is when during the period of taxes, we said accessing benefits through tax filing.
Yeah.
We get so many people, so that's one.
Okay, tax filing is the key first step. Get people to file their taxes and then go from there.
Yeah.
Sherry, what about you?
I definitely agree with that. Tax season is one of the best ways to connect with people for sure. But we also looked at other things. We go out to a lot of post-secondary events because we service a lot of international students. So anywhere we went really in the community, we were promoting that service. Everybody who was coming through our doors, all of our link staff knew about it. Just really making sure the information is out there and available. Social media, websites, all those pieces play a role.
Right.
Clients are out there. We just need to let them know it's available.
Great. I love it. So pretty much try every strategy you have available is what you're saying. After, yeah, so definitely tax filing, but after that, try everything you can possibly think of. I love it. Well, Noemi and Sherry, thank you so much. This has been a great hour. I just want to close with a couple of links to resources. As we mentioned earlier, part of this project has also involved an online tool to help folks who are new to Canada learn about money management basics and about basics with the banking and tax system. So the link is there. It's moneymanagement.prospercanada.org. It's free to use. We encourage you to check it out. And we'd also love it if you would check out our Learning Hub. We have several toolkits, including our financial coaching toolkit, which has some of the worksheets and client tools that we use in our coaching training. We definitely thank both Noemi and Sherry for the shout out to our training. I promise we did not tell you to advertise the training so well, but we appreciate it. If you're interested in finding out more about the trainings we offer, please feel free to get in touch. We do an online financial literacy training 3 or 4 times a year, and we offer financial coaching training for a fee on request. So please feel free to give us a shout if you're interested. As we talked about today, we'll be sending you all the material from today's session in an email, and you can find all this and all of our past webinars on our Learning Hub as well. So we want to thank you very much for spending this hour with us. We know your time is valuable, and we appreciate you being on the line with us today. All our contact information is here. We have a newsletter that goes out every other month, sometimes every month if it's a busy season, and it's the best way to stay in touch with us for future events such as this. We'd love to hear from you if you have other topics that you'd like us to bring to you in a webinar form or in any other way. So thank you again for spending your time with us today, and thank you again to Noemi and Sherry for sharing your expertise. We hope you have a great afternoon.
Thank you.